This is Yosh continuing the tokenomics breakdown for the code airdrop by Developer DAO. And in my last two videos, I broke down the supply factors, how we judge the overall supply, what's going into the market and when. And now I want to start diving into demand, because that is the second main factor of understanding the supply and demand dynamics of any token. So for demand, we care about four things, right? Token utility, memes, and basically the narrative around the token, the ROI, and governance. So let's go into the Developer DAO white paper, basically what they launched with, and understand all four of those things. So I'll start with utility, right? The utility behind the token, as they put it here, is twofold. One is governance. You can use it to vote on proposals and be a participant in the DAO, but the real utility is to become a member in the Developer DAO. You need to own 400 code, right? So base member code distribution, you're eligible for 400 code, and to become a member, you need to own 400 code tokens. So that is the core utility. Now, if we wanted to judge kind of the supply and demand, I think the best way to do that is, well, this is the main reason to buy it if you want to be a member in the DAO. So how many people with 10 million tokens, 400 code per person, what does that come out to? That comes out to, let's do this, 10 million divided by 400, right? So we get 25,000 members. If the DAO were to have 25,000 paying users, paying members, then code token would be fully utilized. Is that reasonable? Is that unreasonable? That's up to you to decide, right? But if we only have 1,000 code members, right, then we're not getting anywhere near the 10 million token supply in the market, right? The closer we get to 25,000, the more we get to an inelastic supply-demand curve. The farther away, the more elastic it is, the more supply floating around the market there is. But the picture isn't that simple, because it's not 10 million out in the market, it's really 5 million out in the market. And of course, not all of that is liquid and trading. So there are liquidity pools out there that are sucking up some of the supply, and they're really, this goes into the memes, right? That's number 2 here. We have memes and the narrative, right? So not everyone who was an early contributor in the DAO wants to sell their tokens. Maybe they really believe in it long term. Maybe they believe there should be 50,000 developers who are members. And so they want to hold on. They want to support the project. So from that 10 million, all of a sudden, we've shrunk to 50 million. And from there, we've probably shrunk down to anywhere from 2 to 3 million tokens. Now, if I wanted to dive deeper, and I'll actually write an article about this and probably post a video on this in the future, you can see how many code tokens are locked up in liquidity pools on Uniswap or on SushiSwap, and that way get a better judge for how many tokens are free floating and circulating supply. But here it's I think a good example just to kind of run with let's say 2 million, 3 million tokens that are free floating. And what that comes down to, right, is basically 7,500 members. That's where the supply demand meet, right? And for 7,500 members, well, that's actually not so far from where we are today, because today we know that there were 8,000 NFTs to become a member, and well over 4,000 were authenticated. So there's 4,000 already active users in the Developer DAO Discord, which means that we're pretty close to that 7,500 kind of watermark, which means that there's pretty decent supply, demand for the token. So that's kind of how you want to be thinking about supply and demand. You want to be running through the different factors of supply and then the different factors that go into demand and seeing, do the supply and demand curves meet? How elastic or inelastic is that demand and supply dynamic? Because that's what will impact the price, and the price will impact the long-term longevity of this project.